Thank you for coming to our member benefit webinar. In April, we unveiled our new membership structure catered to serve the holistic needs of our community. Our new structure includes self-select tiers, access to community connection and resources, a deepened investment in professional development, and extended free or discounted benefits offered by our partners. And we're thrilled to have a amazing lineup of member benefit partners as we embark on this exciting and new chapter for the Guild. So whether you're a current member or considering joining, this is for you. And each week through June, we're highlighting one or two partners who will share valuable tools, resources, and insights on different topics. You can find our full lineup of member benefit partners on our website. And so today we are featuring our member partner, Art Center Canvas. They have expertise in many different ways and how you can streamline a lot of your organization's processes. And so I'll leave the bulk of the introduction to David. And if you have any questions, please hold them for the end during the Q&A, unless it's to clarify anything on the presentation. And so thank you for joining, and I'll pass it off to David.
Thanks, Lisette. I am going to share my screen if that's okay. Before I do, I just want to give a brief overview of what we're going to cover. Um, Art Center Canvas, we've been in business for over a decade, and we have an interesting history. Our founder actually built an application for one specific art center here in the Philadelphia area. And over the past almost 15 years, we've built lots of functionality into our software platform, but all of that functionality was built specifically for arts education centers, both in the visual arts and performing arts. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to manage constituent data. We're going to talk a little bit about how you can use one software application to kind of streamline, as Lee said, streamline your processes, make it easier for your team to basically manage the day to day. And It is a small, intimate group. I guess you wanted to hold questions till the end, but if you do have a question, please feel free as I go through this. All right. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, let's dive right in. Um, so, we are Art Center Canvas, as I mentioned. Our software is the most comprehensive single platform where you can manage not only your art center, but manage all of your constituent data. And we're going to get into the specifics of exactly how it works. Before we do, I'd like to share a little bit about who our customers are. Geographically speaking, our customers are arts education. The vast majority of them are nonprofit. They are based all over the United States. I have a few examples here. So if you've ever heard of the New Art Center or New Art Center based in Newton, Massachusetts, you can, this is their site. Now, when you go into any of these areas within their site, if I'm a student, for example, and I want to register for a class, you'll see up here that basically it says here in the navigation up here in the URL, it is switched to canvas.newartcenter.org, and that means that our software is essentially the course catalog. And there's lots more functionality, including a calendar, which you can see all of the programming that's offered in a calendar view. Events can be scheduled through Art Center Canvas and managed. You can basically have a page for all of your instructors, and not only that, but you can actually, if you're a student, you want to take a class with one specific instructor, you can do that. You can do that here. Um, Memberships, of course, memberships are offered through the Canvas software platform. Many different types of memberships. You can make a donation through our platform. You can send a gift certificate to a friend or family member, and all of that can be done through the platform. Once you sign in as a user, you have access to your order history. You can see what you've purchased before. So all of that is available to the end user. And we're going to talk more about that as well as the back end of our software for administrators. Um, as I mentioned before, we serve many different types of arts organizations. The visual arts, we have customers that offer ceramics, painting, glass blowing, metalworking, printmaking, etc. Music schools and performing arts, which includes dance and theater. And then in terms of the sizes of the organizations that we work with, on the small side, probably somewhere around 750,000 to 1.5 million in annual revenue and that's revenue from all sources. Medium-sized art center would be in the 1.5 to 3 million range. And then some of the larger arts education centers are, north of 3 million in revenue. We are offering a discount, a pretty significant discount to Guild members. It's 10% off of the entire first year of your SaaS fees, of your software fees. And we also offer professional services, which we'll get into, but we're offering 10% off of whatever you choose to do with Canvas. All right. So I think the real benefit, and we're going to talk about this more, but what's the real benefit of having all of your constituent data and being able to manage your entire art center through one application? Most customers that most of our new customers, when we ask them, they're using multiple different software applications to manage their art center. And here's just a few examples. So many of the art centers that we work with have a dedicated CRM. They may have a separate application for class scheduling, memberships, donor management, and fundraising, e-commerce, or not only e-commerce, but point of sale as well. If they're selling if they're selling items from a gift shop or from their website. And so it becomes really hard to not and expensive to manage all those different applications. But I think the real challenge is you have customer data, you have data living in different silos. So you may have just for class registration, you may have student data, and for donor management, you may have donor data. So you end up having these different silos of data, and it becomes really hard to work with. And if you want to send out really, I think, personalized, smart marketing messages, it gets almost impossible to do that because you're constantly trying to coordinate, organize all of that data into something meaningful that you can derive insight from. Um, so this is what the this is what the Canvas platform was built to do. It was basically built to manage all of that information and all of that functionality in one place. So not only do you have all of your constituent data, whether it be donors, students, event attendees, artists that exhibit through our exhibitions module, all of that data lives in one CRM. And then in addition to that, we have modules that make it easy for you as an administrator to build your course catalog, update your course catalog, remove classes, add classes, make changes to all of that. And there's so much more functionality. There's over 10 years of functionality, almost 15 years built into the platform. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use the platform to, quickly and easily build your course catalog, identify classes that are under enrolled so that you can, message students who might be interested in taking classes that you want to fill. Um, so much more, but we'll get into all of that. All right. So as I mentioned before, there's two parts to our application. There's what we call the storefront or the front end, which is for patrons. And I showed you very briefly one example through New Art Center in Massachusetts. And you can see here across in the navigation across the top, all of the functionality that's available to people that visit your website through the Canvas platform. Classes, calendar, events, memberships, etc. And then there's a back end for administrators, and we'll talk a lot about how the back end can be used to um, build course catalogs, provide refunds if and when needed, and to do so much more in the platform. There's just, we won't get to it all. We won't get to all the functionality in today's webinar, but I think we'll give you an overview of what's in the platform. All right, so let's talk about patrons or constituents, people that visit your website. So our customers today, many of them, most of them, continue to use either WordPress or Squarespace or Weebly for informational pages, but all of the functional pages are hosted by Canvas. And we customize the look and feel of these pages so that they look exactly like the informational pages. And when I say informational pages, I mean things like, you know, meet our team or our history or about us. Those are the pages that will remain on those content management systems like WordPress. But all of the other pages will be hosted on Canvas. Here's one example. Here's the calendar view that I mentioned before, and you can see what's being offered. You can drill down and look at what's offered in a specific day. You can look both monthly and weekly. You can actually click on any of these scheduled classes and you can click on them and you can actually register directly from the calendar. Um, We also have, I think, very rich, robust class registration functionality. And without going into all the details, there's a lot that you can do as an administrator when you build these pages. And you can see some of the things that are included here. The date and time of the class, the age, or who's the audience, what are they for? This is a class for children between the ages of 8 and 12. The price of the class, you can add it to your shopping cart. There's a description of the class, and you can also have information about the instructor. And all of that is on the what we'll call the class registration detail page. What I showed you, I think, at the beginning of this webinar on the on New Art's website is we actually have, I think, a pretty robust filtering system where when you build your course catalog, users who come to that page can use the filters to find the course that they're most interested in. We also have events functionality. This is an example of a live performance, and you can build pages like this very easily in our platform as an administrator, and people can purchase tickets to events through the platform. This is an example of the membership module, and there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of memberships that you can offer. You can see here, there's a button for auto renew. So if you want those memberships to auto renew, you can actually securely save the credit card information and auto renew members through the platform. Let's talk a little bit about commerce. This is an example of an online store. This store is hosted and managed through our platform. There are, in this case, I think there are hundreds of items for sale. We also offer the ability through our software to process in-person orders or purchases. So if you have a gift shop, as I mentioned before, you can integrate with Canvas through a point of sale, and it's all very easy to do. Um, This is an example of an exhibition. So artists through the back end, and I'll show you that in a minute. Through the back end, you can invite artists to exhibit their work. They can if you want to charge artists per piece that they're exhibiting. That can all be done through the Canvas platform, and you can manage the entire exhibition through the back end, which I'll show you shortly. I mentioned donations. We This is sort of the default donation page that comes with Canvas. But I will say that there's a lot of functionality in the back end to do things like building specific lists, automating email, sending out email campaigns to donors. You can also connect donations with events. If you're hosting an annual gala, we can set up automated email campaigns that either remind people of the event, thank them for their donation. All of that can be done in the platform. I will say that for all of the other modules, the class registration and for events and exhibitions, you do need to have an account and do need to log in. And the reason is that you want to keep all of that data. So if a student is registering for a class, you want them to have an account so that you can store all of the data and you can have a history of all the classes that they've registered for in the past. Donations is the only thing that we don't require an account for. So somebody can come here and simply make a donation without creating an account. And that we've done that purposely because we believe that having constituent data is one of the most valuable assets that an arts organization can have. I mentioned this briefly before. Once you create an account, you will be logged in. You can see in the upper right-hand corner where it says, "Hi, David." You have information about your membership status. You can update your credit card information. You can review your order history. There's other functionality in here. So, for example, if you are also an instructor, you can log in as an instructor. You can see which classes you're teaching. You can see the class roster for your classes. You can take attendance. There's a lot that you can do as an instructor. If you are, we also have juried exhibitions, and if you log in this drop down here, you will see a link for jurors, and as a juror, you can go in and you can vote on artwork, and there's a lot of functionality in there for jurors, instructors, members, and students. Um, what else? So that's just a very high level overview of what's included in the front end or the storefront that we call the storefront. I'm going to talk now a little bit about what administrators can do on the back end. So let's go into that. So there are five main sections, and I'm simplifying because there's lots more than that, but there are five main sections. There's the CRM, which we call the community module. There is the studio access, which includes things like if you want to make your space available for rent, all of that can be managed there. We have a feature called List Builder where you can, using filters, you can create lists, so you can do very targeted marketing campaigns using those lists. There's a whole section within the backend for events and exhibitions, creating those events and managing those events and exhibitions as well. And then finally, there's the course catalog module. What I'm not showing here is there's an entire reporting suite, which I do have one example, but we can talk about reporting separately. But these are the five main areas of the backend and then reporting as well. All right, so let's talk. about the CRM. It's a fully featured CRM. This is where you would store all of your, for example, student data. There, we have the notion of households, so you can see where it says relationships on the right-hand side. You can have organizations, you can have families, families have spouses and children, and you can all of that data can be organized here. On the front end, when you are registering a child for a summer camp or a workshop, for example, you can add them under your household, and then you can view that as an administrator. All of that can be viewed here on the back end. There's lots of functionality in our CRM, address, artist info, instructor information, profile, purchase history. There's so much data that can be associated with each individual record. But this is at a high level. This is what the community module looks like. Um, all right. As I mentioned before, you can use Canvas software to rent out a studio for maybe a birthday party or for a team building event, and all of that can be done within Canvas. So you can generate revenue for your art center through rental of your space. This is List Builder, and List Builder is very powerful. You can see over here in the upper left, you can use filters to create lists. And so you can do things like, I want a list of everyone that's taken a class over the last month, or I want a list of everyone who has made a donation and taken a class over the last year. And the filters are customizable, so you can build filters, and then you can build lists from those queries or those filters, and then you can use those to set up automated email campaigns. As I said before, you can send reminders to donors about an event, or you can thank them for a donation. All of those, what we call transactional email, can be automated in the system. As I mentioned, I think earlier, you can use Canvas to create and manage an event. This is the initial screen where you would do that. You would create an event title, the start and end date. All of this is built here. And then there is a test. We call it the sandbox, but there's a place where you can view this before you push it live on your website. But this is where you would build and create the event and manage the event if you have to make changes to it once it's live. So this is one of the most important parts of the Canvas platform. You can build your class catalog here. There's a lot of functionality in here that once you've built your course catalog, you can replicate it and reuse it, or you can replicate it, modify and use it. So if you have like a spring term and then a fall term, you can replicate the spring term, make changes to it, and then publish it as the fall term. So we've made it really easy basically to manage your courses in all of your programming. I won't go into all the detail in here, but there's a lot of information that you can put in here regarding the description of the class, the class type. I guess I will say one important thing is we've built the functionality into classes so that if you're like a member or if you're a VIP or if you want to offer classes only to members or if you want to offer classes to members first, like for a week or two before you open it up to the larger sort of student population, you can do that. And all that it's easy to do in Canvas. So I think that's an interesting feature. All right, this is, I mentioned this briefly. This is the sandbox. The sandbox is essentially where you go to preview, like if you've built courses or if you've built an event or if you've built a juried exhibition, anything that you've built on the back end, if you want to view it before you publish it, You can do that here in the sandbox, and it's just a great way to make sure that you're basically doing QA and making sure that you're happy with what you built before you publish it. Let's talk about reporting. We have two types of reporting. We have standard reports that exist within Canvas, and there are over a dozen of them, and there are everything from financial reports. Canvas does integrate with QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online, and so there is an integration with QuickBooks. So there's financial reports, there's enrollment reports, there's donation reports, there's reports across all the main modules within the system. If for some reason you want a custom report, we have built an integration with a data visualization tool called Metabase. And this is an example of a custom Metabase report that we built. So any data that exists in Canvas can be reported on. Even if we don't have a standard report for it, we can build a custom report for you. And not only can we build that report for you, but we can design it so that it looks exactly how you want it to look. So we can charts, graphs, tables. If you want to export the data into Excel or into a spreadsheet, all of that can be done using this custom reporting capability in Metabase. It's extremely powerful, and we have a lot of our customers that want custom reports. What we tend to do is if we get enough requests for a custom report, we'll create a standard report and add it to the Canvas platform. But this is all very easy to do. It takes us a day or two to turn around a custom report, and then you have that for as long as you want it. And then finally, I think I mentioned earlier that we now, about 9 months ago, we started offering services. And the reason we started offering consulting services is because we were getting a lot of questions from our customers about they a lot of art centers, in addition to using our software platform, they may have a graphic designer part-time that works with them. They may have an IT person that works with them part-time. They have a marketing person, either full or part-time. And they found it easier to basically consolidate all that and have us do it for them. And so some of the things that we're doing for customers now is I had mentioned that some of your informational pages will live on WordPress, or your informational pages will live on WordPress or a similar application. And then all of your transactional pages will live on Canvas. What we do is we'll come in and we'll figure out how do we improve the navigation, streamline the new navigation, improve the user experience so people can navigate quickly through those two different types of pages so that they can take whatever action you want them to take, whether it's become a member, make a donation, register for a class, purchase tickets to an event, etc. And so that's one thing that we're doing. Another thing that we're doing is we're digging into the data and figuring out how to increase class enrollments through very targeted marketing campaigns and through things like search engine optimization so that we can increase the visibility of your art center. We've helped with appeals campaigns. We've helped with fundraising. Our team is so familiar with List Builder and how to use the queries and the filters that we can really build very targeted lists from that. And then we can send out either email campaigns, direct mail, social media, targeting potential donors or students in social media. And so all of that can be done with our professional services team's help. And then finally, we are building highly customized executive dashboards for some of our customers. And we actually need to do that in a third application, not in Canvas or in Metabase, because we're pulling data. In order to build those dashboards, we're pulling data from many different places, including Google Analytics and from Canvas and from potentially from other applications that you may be using, like if you're using a bulk email tool like Constant Contact or MailChimp. And so we're pulling that data. We also may pull data from if you're doing any marketing in social media or through Google, we can pull all of that data into a single dashboard so that you can see things like trends in registrations, trends in donations. We can do year-over-year comparisons. It's really kind of endless what we can do, but these executive dashboards are, I think, really valuable for uh, sharing with board members, managing expectations, setting goals, and tracking how you're doing against those goals. Um, what else? Okay. I think one of the real benefits of using our platform is that we've been able to negotiate essentially wholesale or bulk rates. And so what art centers typically pay for payment processing, if they're using Square or similar, they're paying probably around 3%. And we're charging anywhere from 2.5 to 2.7% depending on volume. This equates to a very significant savings. Um, and in this example, it's just under $7,000 a year in savings on credit card transactions, which can essentially cover the entire cost of our software platform. That's a sort of added benefit. I have a couple of quick case studies here, and then I'll open it up to questions. So in this example, um, this art center needed a very specific application built for special needs students. And we built the application for them. And then there's an automated approval process. So a student or their parent would apply to the program. That data gets passed into Canvas, and then an email would go out if they've been approved, and then they can come back and register. Um, and that's a unique, I think, a fairly unique use case. But this is something that we were able to build custom, and it saved this art center dozens of hours a month in having to do this process manually. And they didn't have the data in Canvas. They had the data in a separate application prior to this. And so it really, I think, saves a lot of time, and it's a better user experience for the student who's applying. Here's another example um, where we did some keyword research to see how this art center was ranking in search engine results in specific zip codes. And when we did this, we found that there were some you can see in this on the right-hand side, you can see in the yellow and red, there are opportunities to improve their search engine ranking so that they can get more traffic from potential students in nearby areas that weren't, that may not have been aware that the art center was near them. So a typical keyword search might be something like adult art class near me, or adult art class plus zip code. And you can see in here there are at least a half a dozen towns where this art center was not showing up in search results, and so this was a clear opportunity to generate more traffic for their art center to their website and ultimately increase enrollment. That's everything. I have a few FAQs, and then I guess I can open it up if there's any questions. So, one of the questions we get all the time is what's included in the software as a service subscription. You can have unlimited users. So if you have 10 people that work at your art center or two people that work at your art center, they all get access. And all of the modules that I talked about today are included in the subscription. What's the process to get started on our platform? Um, we go through a process of cleaning your data and then and then and then ingesting that or migrating your data into our application. Once we do that, we will provide setup and training. That whole process takes about 6 to 8 weeks usually for us to um, get your data into the system, provide training, and help you set up the modules that we talked about. And then the final question is, do you need to purchase services in addition to the software? The answer is no. But usually we find that the art centers that do purchase services tend to see a significant increase in donations and enrollments. And so the ROI is clearly there. Um, that's everything I have. I guess I'll stop sharing, and if there's any questions, I'll open it up.
Yeah, I have a question. Just curious. Does it, well, just I'm Eve. I'm the executive director of Dance in Classrooms. Um, thank you for sharing. In full disclosure, I am not an art center. Um, I primarily do, despite being the largest dance education provider to New York City students, but it's mostly happens on site in schools or at after school programs, right? We don't have our own facilities,
Yeah.
but we do. We have a lot of data in a lot of different places, and so I'm exploring several options to try to figure out like
Yeah.
who can solve the problems. Um, and we do a lot of training and professional development for teaching artists locally and nationally. We have 9 national affiliates, and we have a national or really international educator training program that is a mix of sort of hybrid online and in-person classes. It's very sort of customized and bespoke at the moment. There's no forward facing, like you can register, et cetera, yet. Um, so I don't have a lot of that stuff already existing. So, but so I'm maybe building towards that. So this was good to kind of see all of that there. Um, but I do use Salesforce on the back end for our CRM for our fundraising side, and we have invested a fair amount of money in customizing Salesforce as a database for our program scheduling, et cetera. Again, it doesn't interface with the customer in any way, right? So it's all back end. But I'm curious, certainly on we have lots of events, some free, some not free, some ticketed, and payment processing that we do for, through our website for donations, et cetera. And we have yet to ever find anybody who we like that does it all. um, so I was wondering, I know you have your own CRM like integrated into the back end, but I don't know that that is a feature that if I were to go with Canvas that we would use. And so is it possible for your payment processor or your event modules where people are purchasing tickets or making donations to integrate into Salesforce either through a plugin or download and batch upload? Is that something any other folks do?
The short answer to your question is we have a couple, I think, that don't use our entire platform. As just somebody who's been in technology for 30 years, I'll give you my 2 cents. There's always a trade-off between an enterprise platform versus like best in class. So, like for example, Donor Perfect has more functionality than we have built into our platform, and there are trade-offs, and there are pros and cons of having an enterprise platform that does everything versus having all these different systems that you have to basically figure out how to integrate. And as you've experienced, getting everything to Salesforce is probably no easy task. And so you're constantly faced with this challenge of like, do I try to consolidate everything under one platform? Do I use best in class or best of breed and figure out how to do the integration myself? And like, so it's a challenge. The short answer to your question is we could do that for you. I think if you're interested, we'd be happy to, get on a call and talk to you for, 45 minutes or an hour and really dig in and understand what you're trying to accomplish. Whether it's Canvas, it's the right solution, or maybe something else would be, happy to give you a sort of a, hopefully an unbiased opinion.
Right. Well, thank you. This was helpful though. I mean, I'll definitely, dig in more. Like I said, we're not sort of right there, but we're in the process of us, we're planning for FY26, sort of figuring out how we might move to a more outward facing system for some of the things we're doing. And I apologize, I do actually have to run. I have to hop. But I appreciate and look forward to any other follow-up.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Sounds
Bye.
good.